Mina sat alone at the bus stop. The evening air was cold, and the sky had turned a deep shade of gray. Her small bag rested beside her, worn and patched in several places. She pulled her coat tightly around her thin frame, trying to keep warm. Life had been difficult lately. She had no home, no family nearby, and every day felt like a struggle. As she stared at the empty street, she heard soft footsteps approaching. A little girl appeared, carrying a small, worn-out doll. Her hair was messy, and her clothes were patched, but her eyes shone with curiosity and life. She stopped a few steps from Mina and looked at her quietly. "Hi," the girl said softly. Mina looked up, surprised. She wasn't used to anyone talking to her. Most people walked past without noticing her, or they avoided her entirely. "Hello," she replied cautiously. The girl smiled shyly. "My name is Nora." "What's your name?" Mina hesitated. She wasn't used to sharing her name with strangers, but there was something innocent about the little girl that made her want to reply. "I'm Mina," she said quietly. Nora sat down on the bench beside her. "Why do you look so sad, Mina?" she asked after a moment. Mina looked at her hands, not wanting to admit how hopeless she felt. But something about Nora's directness made her speak. I don't have a home," she whispered. Nora's eyes widened a little, but she didn't look scared. Instead, she tilted her head and thought for a moment. "I don't have my mommy either," she said softly. "Maybe we can help each other." Mina blinked in surprise. The girl was bold, speaking about things that adults often avoided. "Help each other?" she asked. "Yes," Nora said with a serious nod. "You need a home, and I need a mommy." Mina's breath caught in her throat. She had never thought about having someone depend on her, and now here was a small child telling her she could be her mother. Mina didn't know what to say. Her heart felt strange, like it had been asleep for a long time and was suddenly waking up. The bus arrived, its lights cutting through the gray evening. Mina looked at the doors opening and closing, feeling a pang of fear. She didn't want to go anywhere. She didn't have a place to go. But Nora, small and determined, grabbed her hand. "Come with me," Nora said. "I can show you a place where we can sit and be safe for a little while." Mina looked at her, unsure. "Safe?" she asked. Nora nodded. "Yes. My friend told me about a corner near the library. Nobody bothers us there, and we can sit together." Mina hesitated. She wasn't used to trusting anyone, especially a child she had just met. But there was something in Nora's eyes that made her want to believe. Slowly, she nodded. "Okay," she whispered. They walked together, small steps beside bigger ones. Nora held Mina's hand tightly, like a little anchor. When they reached the corner near the library, they found a quiet spot on the steps. It wasn't warm, but it was protected from the wind. Nora took out her small doll and held it up. "This is Daisy," she said. "She's my friend. And now, you are my friend too, Mina." Mina smiled faintly, feeling a small warmth in her chest. I. "I'm glad," she said softly. She hadn't felt glad about anything in a long time. They sat together in silence for a few moments, watching the street lights flicker. The city around them moved quickly, but in that little corner, time seemed to slow. Mina noticed how small and fragile Nora looked, and she felt a strange mix of protectiveness and affection. Do you want to eat something?" Mina asked quietly. Nora shook her head. "Not really. I just like sitting with you." Mina felt her heart tighten. This little girl trusted her so easily, and Mina realized she wanted to protect her. For the first time in a long while, she felt that maybe, just maybe, life could be a little brighter. The evening grew colder, and Mina wrapped her coat around both of them. Nora leaned against her, and Mina held her gently. The city noises continued around them, cars rushing by, distant chatter, the hum of streetlights, but in that small moment, there was a quiet connection that neither of them had expected. "You need a home," Nora whispered again, her small voice full of certainty. "And I need a mommy." Mina hugged her a little tighter. She didn't have all the answers, and the future still felt uncertain. But for the first time in a long while, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: hope. And in that quiet corner, two lost souls found a small piece of family in each other. The next morning, Mina woke up on the hard wooden bench near the library. She had barely slept, the chill of the night still lingering in her bones. Beside her, Nora stirred, hugging her small doll tightly. The little girl's eyes blinked open, bright and full of energy, as if the cold and hunger of the streets never touched her. "Good morning, Mina," Nora said cheerfully, stretching her tiny arms. "Did you sleep?" Mina rubbed her eyes and gave a tired smile. "A little," she admitted. "Did you sleep okay?" "Yes," Nora said simply. "Daisy kept me safe." She held up her doll, and Mina couldn't help but smile. The girl had such a pure way of seeing the world, even when life was hard. The two of them walked slowly through the city streets. Mina had no money for food, but she wanted to make sure Nora at least had breakfast. They stopped near a small bakery where the smell of fresh bread drifted into the air. Mina hesitated, unsure if she could ask for anything. But Nora tugged gently at her coat. "Can we, maybe sit and smell it for a little?" Nora asked innocently. Mina laughed softly, the first sound of real joy in weeks. "Okay," she said. They stood outside the bakery, inhaling the warm, comforting smell of bread and pastries. It was a small pleasure, but for a moment, it made them forget the harshness of the streets. As they walked away, Nora looked up at Mina. "Do you have a home, Mina?" she asked curiously. Mina shook her head. "No, not really. I sleep in corners or on benches. That's why I was so surprised when you said I need a home." Nora nodded thoughtfully. "I think everyone should have a home," she said. "A warm place. And someone to love them." Mina felt a lump in her throat. She had long given up on having anyone love her, but this little girl already did. She wanted to cry, but instead, she squeezed Nora's hand gently. They spent the day wandering together. Mina showed Nora small things about the city: the fountain in the park where pigeons danced, the street musician who played a cheerful tune on his guitar, and the library where books smelled of paper and dreams. Nora listened to everything with wide eyes, asking questions and laughing at little jokes. When the sun began to dip behind the buildings, Mina felt the hunger gnawing at her stomach. She and Nora stopped at a small food stall. They shared a simple meal of bread, fruit, and a small cup of soup. They ate quietly, but the warmth of the food and each other's company made them feel safe, if only for a little while. After eating, they found a quiet corner behind the library. Mina leaned back against the wall, exhausted, and Nora curled up next to her. "Do you ever feel scared, Mina?" Nora asked softly. Mina thought for a moment. "All the time," she admitted. "Being alone, not knowing where to sleep or eat, it's scary." Nora nodded. "I know. I feel scared too. But I feel braver when I'm with you." Mina felt her chest tighten. The little girl trusted her completely, and it made Mina realize how much she wanted to protect her. For the first time in a long while, she thought about a future not just surviving, but caring for someone else, and maybe even feeling happy again. "Do you want to come with me tomorrow?" Mina asked. I I can show you more of the city. Maybe we can find some help." Nora's eyes lit up. "Yes. I want that." As the evening grew colder, Mina wrapped her coat around both of them. They huddled together, sharing warmth in the fading light. The city around them moved fast, people rushing to their homes or buses, but Mina and Nora stayed in their small world for a little longer. "I like being with you, Mina," Nora said quietly, holding her doll close. "I think you could be my mommy." Mina's heart ached with emotion. She hadn't thought about being a mother in years, but hearing Nora say it made her feel something she had almost forgotten: hope. "And I think I could be yours," she whispered back. They sat there for a while, silent except for the soft sounds of the city. The stars were just starting to appear in the sky, tiny points of light against the dark. Mina looked at Nora's peaceful face and realized that, even though life had been cruel, moments like this made it bearable. For the first time in a long while, Mina felt that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't completely alone. And with Nora by her side, she began to believe that a brighter tomorrow was possible. The next day, Mina and Nora woke up early, the city streets slowly coming to life around them. Mina had spent the night thinking about their situation. She wanted to find a safe place for them, somewhere they could stay even for a short time. But the truth was harsh: there were few shelters, and most required paperwork she did not have. Nora, on the other hand, seemed full of energy. She skipped along the sidewalks, her small doll tucked under her arm, asking Mina questions about the people they passed. "Why is that man sitting alone?" she asked, pointing to a man hunched on a bench. "He doesn't have a home," Mina said softly. "Some people have it harder than others." Nora thought for a moment, frowning slightly. "I don't like that," she said. "Everyone should have someone to take care of them." Mina felt a pang in her chest. She knew the girl was right. Life had been unfair to both of them. But she also knew that blaming the world wouldn't help. They had to find a way forward. They walked to a small community center, hoping to get help. The building looked inviting from the outside, with warm light spilling from its windows, but inside, it was crowded. Volunteers were helping other families and children, and Mina realized that spots for emergency shelter were limited. I don't know if they can help us," Mina said quietly, glancing at the long line. Nora reached for her hand. "It's okay," she said confidently. "We can try. I'll be with you." Mina felt a small smile tug at her lips. The little girl's bravery was contagious. She took a deep breath and joined the line, Nora holding her hand tightly. While waiting, they talked about small things: the flowers growing in the park, a bird that had landed nearby, and the little games they could play to pass the time. Finally, a kind volunteer approached them. "Can I help you?" she asked, looking at both Mina and Nora. Mina explained their situation briefly, keeping her voice steady even though her heart was pounding. The volunteer nodded sympathetically. "We might have a temporary space for you tonight," she said. "But paperwork is needed in the morning. Can you come back then?" Mina nodded, relief washing over her. "Yes, thank you." Outside, the cold air hit them, but Nora skipped happily beside her. "See, Mina. Everything will be fine," she said. Mina wanted to believe her. She wanted to believe that, for the first time in months, they might have a safe place to sleep. But reality was never simple. Finding food, warmth, and safety every day was a constant challenge. As they walked through the streets, Nora noticed a stray kitten hiding behind a trash can. Her eyes lit up. "Mina, look. Can we help it?" Mina crouched down, seeing the tiny creature shivering. "We can give it some warmth, maybe some food," she said. She found a small piece of bread from her bag and offered it to the kitten. Nora carefully held it, whispering gentle words to calm it down. "See, Mina. We can do good things, even when life is hard," Nora said proudly. Mina felt a warmth in her heart. She realized that despite their struggles, moments like this made life meaningful. Nora had a way of seeing hope and kindness even in the darkest situations. Later that evening, they returned to the quiet corner near the library. The temporary shelter wasn't ready yet, and the city had grown cold. Mina wrapped her coat tightly around both of them and pulled Nora close. "Do you think tomorrow will be better?" Nora asked softly, her head resting on Mina's shoulder. "I hope so," Mina whispered. "I promise, I will do everything I can to keep us safe." Nora smiled and held her hand. "I know you will. You're like a mommy to me already." Mina's eyes blurred with tears. She had never thought of herself as someone capable of caring for another person, especially a child. But Nora's trust and warmth made her feel brave. She realized that family wasn't always about blood, it could be about love, care, and protection. The two of them sat quietly, watching the city lights flicker across the pavement. Life was difficult, and they still faced uncertainty. But in that moment, Mina understood that they could face it together. She had someone who needed her, and she needed someone who believed in her. For the first time in a long while, Mina felt a small spark of hope. The streets were harsh, and the nights were cold, but with Nora by her side, she could imagine a future where they were safe, cared for, and loved. And that thought was enough to keep her moving forward, one step at a time. The next morning, Mina and Nora left their small corner near the library, determined to find some help. The city streets were busy, but they moved carefully, keeping close to each other. Mina's bag felt heavier than usual, filled with their few belongings, but holding Nora's hand made her feel lighter. As they walked, Nora suddenly stopped. "Mina, look. That lady dropped something," she exclaimed. A woman standing nearby had accidentally dropped a bag of groceries. Mina quickly picked it up and handed it back. The woman smiled warmly. "Thank you so much. You two are very kind," she said. She looked at Nora and then at Mina. "Are you girls okay? Do you need any help?" Mina hesitated. She wasn't used to strangers offering help. Most people ignored her or frowned at her appearance. But something about the woman's eyes made her trust her. We are trying to find a safe place to stay," Mina said quietly. The woman nodded. "I know a community program that helps people with housing and food. It's not far from here. I can show you the way." Nora's eyes lit up. "Really? Can we go?" she asked eagerly. "Yes, come with me," the woman said kindly. "My name is Mrs. Alley." Mrs. Alley led them to a small, colorful building with a welcoming sign. Inside, volunteers were busy helping families, giving out blankets, and offering warm meals. The atmosphere was bright and hopeful, unlike the harsh streets outside. Mina felt nervous as she approached the desk. We need help finding a place to stay," she explained. A friendly volunteer smiled at them. "You've come to the right place. We can help you with temporary housing and food. You'll need to fill some forms, but we will guide you." Mina felt a wave of relief. The stress of the last days had been heavy, and just knowing there was someone ready to help made her heart lighter. Nora squeezed her hand. "See, Mina. I told you it would be okay," she whispered. While filling out forms, Mina noticed Nora wandering near a table with coloring supplies. She picked up some crayons and a sheet of paper and began drawing happily. Mina watched, smiling softly. The little girl's innocence and joy were contagious, and Mina felt her own worries ease, if only for a moment. After some time, a volunteer came back with good news. "We have a small room available for tonight. It's not large, but it's safe and warm. You can stay there and plan your next steps tomorrow." Mina couldn't help but feel a small tear in her eye. For the first time in weeks, she imagined a place where she and Nora could sleep without fear. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. Nora jumped up and hugged Mina tightly. "See, Mina. I told you. Everything will be okay." That evening, Mina and Nora moved into their small temporary room. It was simple, just a bed, a small table, and a few chairs, but it was warm and safe. Mina set their bag down and looked around. For the first time in months, she felt a sense of calm. Nora sat on the bed with her doll. "This is nice," she said softly. "I think we can be happy here." Mina smiled. "Yes, we can," she said. "We have each other, and that's what matters most." They shared a simple dinner provided by the community program. As they ate, Mina realized that kindness could be found even in a world that often felt harsh and cold. Mrs. Ali's help and the volunteers' smiles were proof that people could care for one another, and that gave her hope. After dinner, Mina and Nora sat by the window, watching the city lights glow. The streets outside were still busy, but here, in their small room, they felt safe and connected. Mina held Nora close. "I promise, I will do my best to take care of you," she said quietly. Nora looked up at her with wide, trusting eyes. "I know you will, Mina. You already do." Mina felt a warmth in her chest she hadn't felt in a long time. It wasn't just relief or gratitude, it was hope, and the beginnings of love. She realized that even though life had been hard, moments like this made it bearable. With Nora by her side, she felt strong enough to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Before they went to sleep, Nora hugged Mina tightly. "Good night, Mommy," she whispered. Mina felt tears in her eyes. "Good night, my little one," she replied, holding her close. That night, as Mina lay on the small bed, she thought about the kindness they had received. Life was still uncertain, and tomorrow might bring new challenges, but for the first time in a long while, she believed that things could get better. And with Nora beside her, she felt ready to face them, step by step, together. The next morning, Mina woke up early, feeling a mix of hope and worry. Their small room at the community center was warm and safe, but she knew it was only temporary. She needed to find a more permanent home for herself and Nora. She gently shook the little girl awake. "Good morning, Mina," Nora said sleepily, hugging her doll. "Did you have dreams?" Mina smiled softly. "Yes, sweetie. Dreams of a place where we can stay together." After a quick breakfast, Mina packed their few belongings and headed to the center's office. The volunteers had promised to help her with the paperwork for a small apartment program. It was a slow process, but it was the first real chance they had to start over. As they waited, Nora sat on a chair nearby, drawing pictures of flowers and homes with bright crayons. "Do you think we will have a garden, Mina?" she asked. "I hope so," Mina replied. "Even a small garden will be nice." For a while, everything seemed to go smoothly. The volunteer explained the forms and guided Mina through each step. She was nervous, but the thought of having a real home for herself and Nora gave her courage. But just as hope began to grow, a setback appeared. "I'm sorry," the volunteer said, frowning as she examined the forms. "There's a problem with your identification papers. We need additional documents before we can approve your application." Mina felt her stomach drop. "But I've been waiting for this for weeks. What do we do now?" The volunteer shook her head gently. "I wish I could help more, but without the documents, we can't proceed. You can try again tomorrow or the next day." Nora looked up at Mina with wide eyes. "Does that mean we can't have a home yet?" she asked softly. Mina knelt beside her, holding her hand. "Not yet, sweetie. But that doesn't mean we won't find one. We just have to keep trying." The little girl's eyes filled with determination. "Then we try, Mina. We never give up." Mina smiled through her worry. Nora's courage was stronger than anything she had seen in a long time. The little girl believed in a future, and that belief made Mina believe too. After leaving the center, they walked through the park. The cold air made Mina shiver, but Nora kept skipping ahead, pointing out birds and flowers. "Look, Mina. A bluebird. And there's a butterfly." Mina laughed softly. Even in the midst of their struggle, these small joys reminded her that life could still be beautiful. Later, they found a quiet bench and shared a small meal from the community center. Mina gave Nora a piece of bread, and they ate together in silence for a while. Then Nora spoke, her voice full of hope. "Mina, I dream about a home. With flowers outside, and maybe a little dog. Do you think it will happen?" Mina looked at her, feeling a lump in her throat. "I hope so, Nora. And I promise I'll do everything I can to make it real." The little girl smiled and hugged her. "I know you will. I trust you, Mina." Mina felt tears prick her eyes. It was the first time someone had trusted her so completely. The thought of giving up never crossed her mind again. She knew that no matter how hard things became, she had to keep trying for Nora and for herself. As the sun began to set, Mina and Nora returned to their temporary room. Mina pulled out a small blanket and wrapped it around them both. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "we start again. Step by step, we'll get our home." Nora cuddled close, resting her head on Mina's shoulder. "Step by step," she repeated, like a promise. That night, Mina stayed awake longer than usual, thinking about the future. The setback had been discouraging, but she realized that life's challenges were part of the journey. Each small victory, each moment of kindness, and each smile from Nora made it worth the struggle. Even in the cold and uncertainty, Mina felt a quiet strength growing inside her. She had Nora to care for, a reason to keep going, and now she understood that hope could be found even in the darkest times. As she finally drifted to sleep, she whispered to herself, "Tomorrow will be better. We will find our home. We will be okay." And in the corner of the room, Nora slept soundly, dreaming of flowers, butterflies, and a home filled with love. Mina knew that with courage, determination, and each other, they could face anything. The road ahead was uncertain, but together, they had hope, and that hope was stronger than fear. The next morning, Mina woke with a sense of determination. After weeks of struggling, she finally received the call she had been waiting for. The community program had found a small apartment for her and Nora. It wasn't large, but it was safe, warm, and theirs. Mina felt a flutter of excitement mixed with nervousness. "Nora," she whispered, shaking the little girl gently. "Wake up. Today is special." Nora opened her eyes, still holding her doll. "Special?" she asked, blinking sleepily. Mina smiled. "Yes. Today we get a home. Our own home." Nora's eyes widened, and she jumped off the bed. "Really? A home?" She ran in small circles, her laughter filling the room. "I can't wait. Can we have flowers? And maybe a little garden?" Mina chuckled softly. "Yes, sweetie. We can try." They packed their few belongings, careful not to leave anything behind. Every step toward the apartment felt like a step toward a new life. Mina held Nora's hand tightly as they stepped into the elevator. For a moment, Mina thought about the streets they had left behind, the cold nights, the hunger, the fear, and she felt grateful that those days were finally ending. When the elevator doors opened, they stepped into a small hallway that led to their new apartment. Mina unlocked the door, and the moment it swung open, Nora's eyes lit up. The apartment was simple: a small living area, a tiny kitchen, and a bedroom with 2 beds. But it was theirs. "We did it, Nora," Mina whispered. "This is our home." Nora ran to the window, looking out at the city below. "It's so bright. And warm. I love it." She spun around, holding Mina's hand. "Thank you, Mommy. Thank you." Mina felt tears prick her eyes. She had never imagined a moment like this, and now it was real. "No, thank you, Nora," she said softly. "You gave me hope when I thought I had none. You helped me keep going." Together, they unpacked their few belongings. Nora placed her doll carefully on the bed, and Mina set their clothes neatly in the small closet. They hung a few drawings that Nora had made on the walls, and instantly, the apartment began to feel like home. Later, Mina sat at the small table with Nora beside her. They shared a simple meal of bread, cheese, and fruit. For the first time in weeks, they didn't have to worry about finding food or staying safe. They could just eat, laugh, and enjoy the moment. After dinner, Mina pulled out a small notebook she had found at the community center. She began planning their new life, things to do, places to explore, and small dreams to chase. Nora peeked over her shoulder, her eyes sparkling. "Can we have a garden?" she asked again. Mina smiled. "Yes. We'll plant flowers. Maybe even some vegetables. You can help me take care of them." Nora clapped her hands excitedly. "I can't wait. This will be the best home ever." As the evening grew darker, Mina tucked Nora into one of the beds. The little girl held her doll tightly and smiled up at her. "Good night, Mommy," Nora whispered. "Good night, my little one," Mina replied, stroking her hair gently. Once Nora fell asleep, Mina sat on the edge of the other bed, looking around the small apartment. The walls were bare, and the furniture was simple, but it was theirs. She thought about the journey that had brought them here, the streets, the bus stop, the kindness of strangers, and the courage of a little girl who had trusted her completely. Mina realized that a home wasn't just about walls or a roof. It was about safety, love, and being together. And for the first time in a long while, she felt that she had all three. The next morning, they explored their new neighborhood. Nora pointed out small shops, flowers along the sidewalk, and children playing in the park. Mina felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had a home, a child to care for, and a future to look forward to. Together, they planted small flowers on the balcony, their hands covered in soil and laughter. Each bloom was a promise of hope, a symbol of the life they were building together. As the sun set, Mina and Nora sat on the small balcony, watching the city glow with lights. The apartment was modest, but it was filled with warmth, love, and the beginnings of a family. Mina hugged Nora tightly. "We did it, my little one. We have a home now. And we'll make it a happy one." Nora smiled, her eyes shining. "Yes, Mommy. We'll make it the best home ever." For Mina, those words were more than a promise. They were a reminder that no matter how hard life had been, hope, love, and family could always be found. And in that small apartment, two hearts that had once been lost on the streets had finally found a place to call home. Months passed since Mina and Nora moved into their small apartment. The space had transformed from a bare, temporary room into a cozy home filled with love and laughter. Nora's drawings decorated the walls, colorful flowers bloomed in small pots on the balcony, and the scent of warm meals often filled the air. Mina had found a steady job at a nearby cafe. The work was not always easy, but it gave her the confidence and means to provide for Nora. Each evening, she returned home, tired but happy, knowing that she had a child waiting for her with a smile and a story to share. Nora, meanwhile, had started school. She loved learning new things, making friends, and sharing tales of her little adventures with Mina. The little girl's energy and optimism brightened even the hardest days, and Mina found herself laughing more than she had in years. One afternoon, Mina and Nora were walking home from the park when Nora suddenly stopped. She pointed at a group of children playing together. "Mina," she said, "I want to show them my home. I want them to know you're my mommy." Mina smiled warmly. "Okay, sweetie. Let's go." When they arrived at the apartment, Nora excitedly led her new friends through the small living room, showing off the little balcony garden, the colorful walls, and her doll, Daisy. "This is my mommy," she said proudly, hugging Mina. "She takes care of me and loves me. And we have our own home now." Mina felt her heart swell with pride and love. For so long, she had felt lost and alone, and now here she was, a mother with a daughter who loved her unconditionally. She knelt to Nora's level and whispered, "I'm proud of you too, my little one." That night, after tucking Nora into bed, Mina sat in the small living room, reflecting on how far they had come. The streets they had once wandered felt like a distant memory, replaced by laughter, warmth, and the simple joys of everyday life. Nora, holding Daisy tightly, spoke softly from her bed. "Mina, thank you for everything. For staying with me. For loving me." Mina felt tears well in her eyes. "No, Nora. Thank you. You gave me hope when I thought all was lost. You reminded me what family means." The little girl smiled and drifted off to sleep, dreaming of flowers, butterflies, and the happy home they shared. Mina watched her for a moment, feeling the deep connection between them. She realized that family wasn't just about being born together, it was about being there for each other, supporting one another, and sharing love every day. The following weeks were filled with small adventures. Mina took Nora to the local library, where they read stories together, and to the park, where they played and planted more flowers. They baked cookies in the tiny kitchen, laughed at the mess they made, and celebrated each small victory as if it were a grand event. Mina also began volunteering at the same community center that had helped them. She wanted to give back, to help other people who were struggling the way she once had. Seeing their smiles and hope reminded her of how important kindness could be. One evening, as Mina and Nora sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Nora hugged her tightly. "I love our home, Mommy." "I love you," she said softly. Mina hugged her back, feeling a warmth that no hardship could take away. "I love you too, Nora. More than anything." As the stars appeared in the sky, Mina thought about the journey they had taken, the long nights on the streets, the hunger, the fear, and the moments of kindness that had guided them. Every struggle, every tear, every small act of courage had led them here, to a life filled with love and hope. They were no longer just a young woman and a little girl surviving day by day. They had become a family. A real family, chosen by love and strengthened by trust. Nora yawned, her eyes heavy with sleep. Mina carried her to bed, tucking her in carefully. "Good night, my little one," she whispered. "Good night, Mommy," Nora murmured, snuggling close. Mina sat beside her bed for a while, watching her daughter sleep peacefully. She felt a quiet joy and gratitude she had never imagined possible. Life had given them challenges, yes, but it had also given them each other a home, a bond, and a love that could never be broken. As Mina turned off the light and prepared to rest herself, she knew one thing for certain: they had finally found what they had been searching for all along. A place to belong, a sense of safety, and a family built not by chance, but by courage, trust, and love. And in that small apartment, filled with laughter and dreams, Mina and Nora embraced the life they had created together, a life full of hope, joy, and the unbreakable bond of a family found.